Do all Premier League fans think the same? Absolutely not. But Mr. Zach Jellab has posted his latest YouTube video questioning just this with another group of fans, and I absolutely love his videos. So we are going to react to it live. I haven't actually watched this one yet, so we're going to see what it's about. I'm going to give my own takes on it, my own opinions, and let's get right into it.
We were comfortably the worst side that night against Fiorentina. They should have beaten us.
If we were to win another, it'd miss my child's birth for it.
I couldn't care less what's going on in terms of financials at the boardroom at Palace. We won the FA Cup. We finished 12th. Today!
That take, by the way, I don't care what goes on in my club's finances, 100% agree with. I'm not the accountant. I don't really care what money we spend, as long as I get to enjoy watching football on the pitch, because at the end of the day, that's all football's really about.
Now, I've got all these football fans here to see whether they agree or disagree with some of these statements. Winning the FA Cup and finishing 6th and not getting Champions League football is better than finishing 4th but winning no trophies.
Come on, man. Yeah. Come on, boys. You can.
Winning the FA Cup and finishing 6th is better than finishing 4th but winning no trophies. Yes. I think I'd strongly agree here. I don't want to do none of this agree, disagree. We're going to only strongly agree or strongly disagree, and I'm going to strongly agree. Don't get me wrong, I would be very annoyed if Manchester City missed out on Champions League football, but I'd be very happy winning the FA Cup. And I think for 99% of English football teams, winning the FA Cup and finishing 6th is better than finishing 4th with no trophies, in my opinion. But let's see what they have to say.
What's wrong with you people?
Alice?
My God, that's mental.
So a part of it probably maybe depends on like how long your club has gone without a trophy and all of that. But the way I look at it is football was very much about finances these days. And the money you get from being in the Champions League is like 100 million in itself. If you go far.
I disagree with the fact that she's wearing a United shirt. Like Manchester United haven't been in the Champions League, what now, for 2 years? 2-3 years? And they can still spend whatever they want. Clubs that size, it isn't about the finances. The owners are rich enough. So, don't get me wrong, for clubs like, say, Leicester, I would agree in turn, but I think winning a trophy is far more important.
In the Champions League, you get even more money. If you win the Champions League, you get into the Club World Cup, which I don't really like, but there's a crazy amount of money in it. And I think it's better for the long-term sustainability of a club to be in the Champions League just through sort of the money that you get. And it also helps you pull better players in the summer window. Now, I guess if you're more of a bottom mid-table club, you've won your trophy, you don't have the depth to be in the Champions League, then I would probably argue FA Cup and 6th is better. But I think if you support like a big 6 club, I think Champions League is really important. Like for Manchester United this season, obviously I know we've won 2 trophies under Ten Hag quite recently, but I think getting back.
Let's not start talking like Manchester United have won a lot of trophies. Let's not be silly here. Manchester United winning the FA Cup and finishing 6th is better than them finishing 4th with no trophies at the moment. Manchester United needs silverware. Like, don't get me wrong, finishing the Champions League is huge, but they've not done it for like the past 2 years. I think this is the first time they're in it again now for a good few years. So it's not been that detrimental to the club. They can still bring in the fan base, still spend the money. They need silverware. It's Manchester United.
Would be bigger for us because of our finances.
Quickly, Palace fans, I'd say, well, Palace fan, Henry, you won the FA Cup last
12th.
year and finished 12th.
12th again. Who
12th
again. Finished the chart.
But the only rebuttal I've got to that is, as a fan, and I kind of get what you're saying in your circumstance uniquely, but as a fan, why it's become such a thing where fans are so focused on the finances of their clubs. I couldn't care less what's going on in terms of financials at the boardroom at Palace. We won the FA Cup. We finished 12th. Like, unless we win the Conference League this year, touch wood, it's not going to get better than that. And that moment, that day, the entire occasion, will live with me, Ollie, every Palace fan for generations. It was incredible. I do not care about, even if we finish Europa League and got however many millions of pounds for qualifying, I would never take that any day over winning the FA Cup. Never.
I don't.
That is exactly what football is about. Football is about experiencing them moments, watching your team, not about worrying what the accountant's doing. Like, we've just spent 116 mil on Anderson. I don't really care where the money's come from, to be completely honest, as long as it makes a better product on the pitch and I get them moments with my mum and my granddad watching City like I've had for 19 years. So I just don't get, and I don't understand why fans are so fixated on the money. Like, you don't watch the money, you don't see the spreadsheets, that you don't see all the accountancy stuff. You see the football on the pitch. Surely you'd rather the football on the pitch be better. Like, I don't get why it's such a
I say
big
this
deal.
disrespectfully, but obviously an FA Cup does a lot more for your guys' clubs than it does for my club. And the reason why I'm here is not because of the
Exactly the same point. Why do people make out like the FA Cup isn't a big trophy anymore? It's like the one of the oldest, if not the oldest, standing trophy in world football. Like, why all of a sudden has it just lost all its value? Because these big clubs, well, because United and Liverpool haven't been winning it every single year, or Arsenal haven't been winning it every single year, all of a sudden it's not valuable. Obviously, City are the holders of it. When Palace won it, people make out like it's a tin pot trophy. It's absolutely not. It's the magic of the FA Cup. People just get salty and care about the money too much. The FA Cup is so prestigious to win, which is why it makes up the treble. That's why winning the treble isn't winning the Carabao Cup, it's winning the FA Cup. Because it's a prestigious trophy.
finances is because for me, the best days of my life are when we won the Champions League in Madrid, when we won the Premier League. So being in the Champions League and having the prospect and the chance of being able to, recreate that night means more to me than, winning an FA Cup, which to me is just a bit of a sweetener. It's not disrespect. When we won the FA Cup in 2022, it was great. Personally, the prospect of winning the bigger trophy is more important for me.
But the question is winning. It's not winning the Champions League. It's getting top four or winning the FA Cup.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but winning. I'll give it to you after. Getting into the top four gives you a chance.
No, yeah,
of winning.
I get that, but it's not a guarantee.
So
That's not the
chance
question.
of winning the Champions League.
You think a chance of winning the Champions League is better than winning the FA Cup?
Yeah.
See, that's false because yesterday was the Cov Parade for us going up. Probably one of the best days of my life. Slept for 45 minutes. When am I ever going to do that again? Like,
Hopefully never, mate. Hopefully never.
To do something like that. And being a football fan is about making memories. And like you said, I couldn't care less about the finance side of football. It's not going in my pocket. I don't care. It's about making memories as a football fan. That £100 million for getting into the Champions League or whatever is, if I get hit by a bus next week, that £100 not going to do anything for me. But on my deathbed, I'll probably remember the time I was at the Cov City Parade. I'll remember the time Bobby Thomas heads one in and we get promoted and everyone goes crazy. I'll remember the time we won an FA Cup. 1987, Coventry won the FA Cup, only thing we've ever won. In the city, it's still spoken about to this day. Everyone remembers where they were on Cup final day, 87.
And that is exactly what football is about. And I think it's this online wave of like Twitter fans or TikTok fans that sort of just watch football through creator accounts and stuff, like through their favourite creators and whatever, rather than actually like wanting the moment themselves. It's like football watch-alongs. I'd never think of watching a City watch-along when City are playing. I've even dabbled with the fact that I probably wouldn't want to do a watch-along when City are playing, in a big game, that is, like in the Premier League or something, because I want to enjoy that moment with my family. Like, supporting City is our thing. It's not just my thing. I go to every game with my family. So it's like, why would I not want to do that just to watch it online? I know it's slightly different, but like, I just can't believe people would rather finish top four and be sort of, even in Liverpool's case or United's case, finishing top four isn't success. That's a failure. Winning no trophies and getting top four for Liverpool, United, City, Arsenal now, Chelsea now, that's a failure. You have to win a trophy. Top four should be a guarantee. But for the clubs of this size, like, winning a trophy is what's important. Winning the league is what's important, not finishing top four. These clubs can survive without the UCL money.
No one's going to remember where we were when we finished 4th place. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so much, it means so much more to win.
And the clubs without the money would also rather win the trophy because they haven't got money. So winning the trophy for them is way more important because they can't afford to compete in these bigger competitions.
As a football fan, because that is the only reason you should watch football as a football fan. It's not about the finances. It's not about we have a chance to win this. It's about actually getting over the line and winning something. It just means that's what everything of being a football fan should be.
I was gonna say one thing, but I'm not on strongly agree because I can understand where you're coming from. And obviously, as an Arsenal fan, obviously like finishing second and not winning anything, I've been getting all the talk over the past few years. But one thing I was gonna say is that there are less big teams in England than small teams. So, for example, maybe like the 80+ teams, for example, that might not have the opportunity of winning a trophy such as the FA Cup. We saw with Crystal Palace.
And if you want to go off the 92, I'd say there's 6 that don't have to worry about money. And it's the big 6. So out of 92, 84, 86, 86 teams, winning a trophy is more important than Champions League football, in my opinion. For those big 6 teams, the ones obviously I've listed, winning a trophy is crucial and top 4 should be guaranteed.
Last season, Leicester not too long ago,
Top
before that,
5.
who were kind of in the situation we're talking about in terms of top 4 Europe or winning an FA Cup. What that does for you in terms of the memories and all of that stuff, obviously for me, FA Cup, I've won it a lot. So I don't feel that, but it's such an important moment. And then even, for example, when you look at Wigan that won the FA Cup, that went down that same season, those are memories.
I still remember that to this day. I was at Wembley at the time. I'm assuming he's talking about when he beat City. I think it was like 2013 or something. I still remember being in the stadium that day, and me and my mum and my granddad, we still talk about it driving home, especially if City have had a bad game, because we always think back to, at least I won't ever be sat in the stadium crying for 4 hours driving home after we've lost to Wigan in a final. Like, at least I've been able to experience all these memories. If the money goes away, their memories are still going to be there, and that's what football's about. Even if it's a bad memory, it's still a memory being with everyone, something we've experienced.
Forever.
I
So
I feel like, you know, I 100% I agree with you, and it is relative according to what club you support. And silver is the currency of success in football. The best day of my life was winning the league. The second best was winning the Champions League. But as a Liverpool fan, and this is a specific to my club argument, every European night we have is magic. Like, I remember games, you know, even ties where we've been knocked out. That tie at Stamford Bridge, I think it's 4-4. Fabio Aurelio scores a free kick. Like, I remember that like as a magical memory. So these nights stay with you. Look, I would have loved to have won the FA Cup this season. I'm gutted that we're going to end this.
But then winning the FA Cup would mean more than, I don't know which game she's talking about, but I assume they won to a free kick late on. Winning the FA Cup would mean more than just getting to the next round of the Champions League. Like, I don't get it. You can play Chelsea in the FA Cup, you can play Chelsea in the Champions League. The ball that you're kicking doesn't change the fact that one's won a trophy and one's just got you to the next round. Like, I don't know, you can be ecstatic, but you still only got to the next round.
I think for Liverpool, with that special relationship with European football, like some of the nights we've had, even on the way to not winning competitions, will stay with me for just.
I want to quickly just give the mic to T really quickly, because we are actually in a situation right now where this could be possible, right? We could finish and miss Champions League football. Yeah. We could beat Man City with Callum McFarlane as manager and win the FA Cup. You were in disagree and you moved over to agree. Why so?
I'm a Chelsea fan. I've watched Chelsea grow up my whole life winning trophies, every single year winning trophies. You can ask people who know me. When obviously we had the Club World Cup, we won that. I know people don't rate it. That's whatever. And there's an argument to be made that the endurance of having to play through that has caused some of our issues this season. But if you ask me if I would have swapped that, even if it's the Club World Cup, I wouldn't. I love trophies too much. It's what I'm used to as a Chelsea fan. This season, if I was to ever say that I would have rather finished 4th than win the FA Cup and finish 6th, which is a possibility, it's more of the manner of how the season has gone in terms of certain expectations that then got worse and worse and worse. But ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, I just love trophies too much. I love how they make me feel, and top four to me is good. It's not a trophy.
I want to quickly, let's pass my.
I just think it's such a snobby argument to say I'd rather finish top 4 than win trophies. Like, I just don't get. Even as a City fan, the most successful club in England over the past decade, dominated English football. Winning trophies is what it's all about. You don't go into a season to finish top 4. Especially as don't get me wrong, if Aston Villa go into a season wanting to finish top 4, that's completely fair enough. But I'm talking about these snobby clubs, and the City fans that are snobby saying that I'd rather finish top 4 because I don't care about the FA Cup, we've won it loads of times. Like, how entitled do you think you are? Like, these are massive trophies that you're competing for. Like, prestigious, massive trophies. Finishing 4th in the league and winning nothing,
Joe, Middlesbrough fan here, kind of, I guess, unbiased in either way. You're not in the Premier League.
Can't fathom either.
You obviously strongly agree.
Yeah, it's just not even a debate for me. I mean, I can't, as I say, fathom, imagine even finishing top 4 or winning the FA Cup. But in terms of like winning, we won the Carling Cup in 2004. That's still spoke about. It's literally the only trophy we've ever won. If we were to win another, it'd be, I'd miss my child's birth for it. That's the level we're talking. Misses would kill me, but yeah, that is the level we're talking. I do understand, like you say, Big Six fans. I think Liverpool and Man United especially, no disrespect, Arsenal, Chelsea,
Spurs. Obviously, Spurs, yeah, totally get it. Yeah, Arsenal have won so many FA Cups, but Liverpool and Man United, they are like obviously far and beyond the biggest teams in England.
You must remember like those UEFA Cup memories with like Juninho and stuff, and that great Middlesbrough team, like Fulham fans. I bet you remember that season where you got to the final incredibly fondly. Like these things do stay with you. European football is magic.
Yeah.
Like obviously it's different if you haven't won something for a very long time, but I'm sure people still speak about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
This whole thing is like, if you don't still win stuff. She just said the last time Liverpool won something was like 22 or something. I mean, funny, that's 4 years ago. I know they won the league last year, so or the FA Cup, she might have said 4 years ago or something. But like, I know they won the league last year, but Liverpool haven't been winning trophies like dominating English football, like still winning trophies. They won the first Premier League 4 years ago or something. Like, I'm sorry.
But, got to the final, got beat 4-0. Obviously, if we won it, it's a different matter. But then again, you come to the argument, would you rather win this trophy or qualify for the tournament? Winning the Europa League, yeah, I'll take that over winning the FA Cup because it's a standpoint in Europe. But if it's them European nights like we did.
And that I completely understand. You get on the European stage and you get Champions League qualification. That makes sense.
Some unbelievable comebacks. Basel beating Roma. But them nights specifically aren't remembered as much as the night in Cardiff when we won the cup.
I don't want to like rude and presumptuous, but I do feel like there is a larger proportion of match-going fans on this side of the room, and I do feel like those memories that you create with the people that you go with. Look, we haven't got to an FA Cup final in my lifetime. The last time we won the FA Cup was in '91. We won the Carling Cup in '08, got to a few finals since then. Or even like the Europa League last year, which obviously gave us a gateway back into the Champions League. We had our worst season in my life, finishing 17th, which, despite the fact we're down here again, has been a large anomaly for me in my life as a Spurs fan. But I would not swap that. Having that experience of going to the people that I've been going to Spurs my whole life with, to experience going to Bilbao, seeing us lift that trophy, the days that followed that. I wasn't thinking about the Champions League. And I know we're talking about a different tournament here, but I was thinking about those memories. And that will, even if we get relegated this season, like those memories will last a lifetime. And it's about the people that you go with. It's about that experience of having it. And also, like, I think the FA Cup is a bit of a weird one because obviously it's lost a lot of its mystique. Like the FA Cup back in the day, like you speak to people of our parents' generation, winning the FA Cup was considered a bigger thing than winning the league at that time. You think about the FA Cup final, the build up to it, like the whole day, 9 o'clock in the morning, it was on telly. It was one of the only times that people would actually be able to watch live football on TV in this country as well back in those days. And I do feel like it's lost a lot of its allure because of greed that's come into the game as well. No FA Cup.
And that's what it's come down to. It's these people that sit online, don't go to games, and only care about the things that bring in the most money. That isn't what football's. It's Ben has hit the nail on the head. That's why he's followed as much. He's spot on.
Replays, all that kind of stuff. More minimal chances for people to create these giant killing stories. But if we're talking about winning a trophy, and I've seen us win 2 in my life, I would not swap that feeling of being the people that I've been around with, going to Spurs with my whole life, for just getting back in the Champions League. We've been there. We've got to a Champions League final, not won it. I still remember that weekend in Madrid. I know, obviously, we weren't expected to win, but I still take those memories of getting to there, nearly winning a trophy, having that thing, than, okay, we're back in the Champions League.
But Ben, I've got to make the point. You could get relegated this season. And I understand what you're saying, because the way I looked at this question is I'm also looking at it at the stature I hold Liverpool to, because, and I understand being a match-going fan, there is a lot more memories.
Does come into it, like it's relative expectation. Of course, you've been spoiled for so long being in those. Like,
but if I'm looking at Liverpool and we come 6th and we get the FA Cup and we come 4th, for me, both seasons are still failures, because how can Liverpool come 6th? Because I'm always looking at the goal is to win Premier Leagues, win Champions League. So I get that you've had an amazing memory.
But they've won 2 Premier Leagues. Since 1992, Liverpool have won the league twice. So this whole idea, every season's a failure, well, then you've had 20 years worth of failure. Well, even longer than that, nearly 30 years worth of failure. I'm not doing the math. That's just not the case. Winning trophies is a successful season. Winning the FA Cup and finishing 6th is a successful season. Finishing 4th and winning nothing is a failure. Winning silverware is successful, point blank. Winning the Carabao Cup and finishing 6th is a successful season because you've won a trophy. Just because fans online might whinge and moan saying it's not the most prestigious trophy in the world, doesn't mean the actual fans that go to games, the actual fans that live and breathe the club, spend their money constantly travelling, spending the hours in the rain, spending the hours stuck in traffic, watching that club, actually being there, experiencing them emotions. Winning the trophies is the trips to Wembley that I've had outweigh. I can't believe
with
it.
Spurs coming 17th and getting the Europa League, but that always has an impact. And the fact now, everyone thought, oh, Spurs, they'll just go back to where they are. Coming 17th has had a huge impact on the fact that you could go down. If I flip that, for instance, for Liverpool, I'm not taking the Europa League to potentially play the Championship.
Can we ask the Leicester fan here?
Yeah.
Because like just standing here the whole time thinking about it, and we talk about Spurs finishing 17th, maybe going down. Would you still care? You won an FA Cup and a Premier League, and you're in League One now.
What do you think, Scott?
That's crazy.
Emphasise that last bit.
And that's not. I'm not making a dig, but I think it's like the perfect.
No. You're
example to prove the
You're doing
point.
my job better than me, mate.
Yeah, I feel like we do fit this question very, very well because whilst obviously we won the league to get into the Champions League, the following season, whilst we tried to battle in the Champions League, we got to the quarterfinals and we were unbeaten at home and it was incredible. But what did we finish, like 12th or something like that? The worst champions ever. I will remember the European nights, but that's because it was our first ones. The FA Cup final, I managed to go. We won it in 21. Wembley only had like 10k people in it because it was just coming out of COVID. Lucky to go. I got to go with my family. I went with my nan, who we were the team that had got to the FA Cup final the most without winning it before that year. She'd been like all 4 times in the span of 70 years or something. So to be able to be there, like Ben was saying, with the people that you go with all the time, to see that moment that you will never ever forget. Of course, we finished 5th back-to-back times, and we got in the Europa League. I went to like Napoli away, I've been to Roma away, and those are amazing experiences, but the trophy is the thing.
So I was gonna say, if you look now, obviously Leicester are going into League One, and you think back to not the Premier League, because obviously that is the outcome, what is that next best? Is the FA Cup or the European away trip?
European trips were good, but it doesn't come close to the FA Cup for me.
Okay, lovely. Just before we move on to our next debate, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I know I ask for it all the time.
And subscribe to this channel. I appreciate it so much.
To be quite honest, it just makes making these videos even easier to do. It's easy to convince footballers, it's easy to get other cool people on as well. So please go down to the subscribe button. A manager matters more than the players. Agree or disagree?
Whoa. A manager matters more than the players. And I have to pick a side. I just think, when you think to all the teams that maybe shouldn't have won, but did, it's the manager. How many teams can you think of that should have won, but didn't because of the manager? I feel like you look at United, Amorim had them playing in like 16th place and come in and finish 3rd. I think of Chelsea. I'll even think of Spurs. I'm going to have to sit on strongly agree. I said I'm not doing agree or disagree. I would probably go milder, but
kick us off,
I strongly agree.
At first I was going to say agree, but then when I was thinking about it, so let's say, for example, Pep this season, he's a very good manager. We know how good he is. But even he needed to go into the transfer market and kind of boost his team to get up to par with what he wanted to do this season. Because if we all looked at the start of the season, we all thought, oh, City's lost a bit, but they've also gained a bit. But when they were playing, they weren't playing the best type of football. And
this question's so hard because that was the debate I was having in my head. If you've got a world-class manager and good players, you'll win. If you've got a bad manager and world-class players, and by win I mean trophies, if you've got good players and a bad manager, you probably won't win trophies. But don't get me wrong, if you've got a great manager and not great players, you know what I'm trying to say? It balances it out. Like these scales. Like I think having a good manager, having good players, having a bad manager, having bad players, sort of thing. Like No, good manager, good manager, good players, bad manager. Like, I think the managers eat the player sandwich sort of thing. Like, you have to have a good team for a good manager to do well. But even if you don't have a good team, a good manager could still get it out. However, a bad manager, even with a good team, could mess it up. Sort of thing. I think that
they were
makes
dropping
sense.
points and they were going through like a bit of lulls. Even now, they're still dropping points. Whereas in the past, when they've had
Manchester City with these bad players won the FA Cup and Carabao Cup.
the best players, obviously
'cause we
Pep
had
still
a
being a
good
good
manager.
manager, they've kind of gone on these long runs. So it kind of just shows that no matter how good you are as a manager, there's still going to be parts of football that you can't really control down to player quality. So
when it comes to managers, the main thing is buy-in. And I don't know about a lot of people here, but obviously I'm not comparing, but obviously when you play even like a little bit of football and you play with a guy and you see that they have invested so much time and effort into you and the way that maybe they play, you want to play for that manager. A prime example is even Chelsea this season with Rafinha, where maybe he's not a rubbish coach, but you can just tell that the players probably weren't buying into him the same way they did with Maresca. Sometimes with a manager, it's not necessarily only about the quality, it's about something that you can see that you can reside with. And I think the main thing when it comes to management, for example, Ange Postecoglou with Spurs, there was a lot of players in that team that rode for him, which is why they won that Europa League. I think the main thing, if you have that emotional attachment, which is so important in football, that's what I think can take you further than just having great players.
Ange finished, okay, he won the Europa League, but they finished low in the league, and it was based off the fact that they've got so many injuries. Even Spurs now, De Zerbi's a good manager, he's getting a bit of points for them, but we can all see Spurs are not going to be in that situation if they have a fully fit squad. On top of that, Chelsea this season, they've been poor. Maresca left, but if you look at Chelsea's squad last
I disagree. I think even if Ange had all his players, they probably still would have been in the mud.
season compared to this season, much better player quality.
Do you know what? I think you both make some really good points, but I think we're in danger of making this a bit of a chicken and an egg situation. So it's very much the age-old kind of question.
And I assume he's gonna say what I said before we even started watching this, that you still need good players for a good manager to perform. Like, they can't work miracles. At the end of the day, it is 11v11 on a football pitch. But even if good players are going up against better players, even if it's like this, great players, good players, a good manager will do that sort of thing. But if you've got good players and bad players but a great manager, well, the good players are still going to beat the 11 that are on the pitch 9 times out of 10.
Of tactics versus individual brilliance of players. You know, a system will take you so far in football, and then individual brilliance of those players can then build upon that system.
Which is exactly why people were saying about Mikel Arteta needing a superstar to win the league. Because you can build this mega squad. And don't get me wrong, I still think Mikel Arteta has done absolute wonders to win the league with that Arsenal attack. It's probably the worst attack I think I've ever seen win the Premier League. Because tactics can only get you so far. Like, it just so happened that the other teams in the league weren't firing well enough, and that the defensive side of the game got them through it. But he like, people say you need that superstar to win the league because you need that. Tactics can only get you to the point of needing the individual brilliance, which is what makes superstar footballers that produce those moments, because the manager puts them in a position to make those moments, sort of thing. Oh, I think that makes
Take
sense.
you further. Is a manager who's got a system more important at a lower league club or a lower half club in the Premier League than, you know, higher up? Possibly, because the system is going to make you unplayable. You know, I think back to, you know, teams like Stoke in the Premier League, or Burnley under Sean Dyche, or, you know, Everton, or these players that are like David Moyes sides that are like notoriously quite hard to play, and they're built upon kind of a unit of players that aren't necessarily the most gifted players, but are there to, you know, make the game difficult and sneak a 1-0 win away from home or whatnot. So I think this question could be different for every single person here, and it's very much subjective on who you support, where you are in the football pyramid.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, it's hard to say. Like, I'm in agree because I look at it from the elite perspective. You know, I think if you...
This question doesn't matter for anything except the elite. Like, if you're in the Championship, having a good manager, it matters just as much as having good players. Like, in the Championship, just having one good player will mean you're successful, or having just a good manager will mean you're successful. Whereas when you're at the very top level, you're coming up against superstars. Against superstars, it's the managers that make the difference.
If we are going to, like, bring this argument to, you know, like, let's say like a top 6 side, does that Man City team Or does that Arsenal team perform as well without having Pep or Arteta at the front of it, implementing that system so the players can then play to a certain way? I don't think so. So that's where I would sit on it.
But then you do have teams like Real Madrid, obviously not in England, but under Zidane, it felt a lot of the time that and there's lots of accounts from players that there wasn't actually much in terms of tactical training, that kind of thing. It was kind of just good players playing together.
For sure, but we're looking, that's the elite. That is the elite. You're looking at the best of the best, and you're looking at one of the best players of all time in Cristiano Ronaldo, having players like Karim Benzema and Gareth Bale next to him, generational talents that can change a game in an instant. Can a Villarreal in La Liga do that?
Is West Ham a good example of when you had David Moyes? Obviously, every fan eventually at that point with David Moyes was like, we need a new manager to take us to that next level. You went and got Lopetegui, and then it went downhill. Is that a showcase that maybe in your point, that the manager is actually the best thing?
The grass isn't always greener, for sure. We spoke about it briefly a minute ago. The greatest night of my life was being in Prague watching West Ham win. We were comfortably the worst side that night against Fiorentina. They should have beaten us. And on another night of the week, they probably would have done. We were awful. We stunk the place out. But a last-minute winner from Jarrod Bowen gave us that game. We were hard to play, but David Moyes got us over that line, and it was individual brilliance of players that changed the game.
Yeah, I'm kind of between these, if I could go, because I think, and I've said it.
I'd be on the line.
I've said it a lot. I've said it a lot for Palace with the FA Cup. I don't think we win the FA Cup and do as well as we did last year, or potentially win the Conference League this year without Glasner. I think that
But Glasner couldn't do that without the good players. So it is a chicken and an egg question, to be honest. It's a good question for a debate, but a bad question for sort of this game. You know what I mean?
Yes, we've got some good players, but I think he came in and he completely elevated the levels of the likes of Hughes, Kamada, these players that are kind of, and your West Hams, your Forest, your Evertons will all have these similar case studies where you've got good players, but a good manager makes them great players.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah, Beatrice, jump in.
I think you can have the best player or the best players in the world.
That's such a polite way to try and join the conversation. Let me talk, guys.
But if the environment's not right, the team's not going to perform. And I think that environment is dictated by the manager. The manager brings in the players, and the manager
I'm really curious for what he has to say. I don't know his name, and that's probably really bad, but the Coventry fan. I feel like I really recognise him, but I feel like I normally recognise him in a United shirt. That's probably really bad, and I've just said something silly, but I'm really curious as to why he's shaking his head.
The training ground, all of that stuff. If the environment's not right, the team will not perform. I'm first and foremost a player. I'm a fan second. And I've played in environments where we've got a good team, but the manager leaves or the manager gets sacked, and it can fall apart so quickly. You can have a great team and it can all be there, but as soon as you lose the leader, the manager, it can fall apart so quickly. And I strongly believe that a good manager can elevate a team so much more than one good player or a handful of good players. I think it's such a valuable asset.
Chelsea's actually an example of that, to be fair, this season, right? Chelsea and Maresca looked not too bad, and then lost Maresca and things have gone downhill.
Managing is not just about systems; it's also about managing players. So you look at Ancelotti; he was able to manage Vinicius Junior.
Yeah, the personality.
I feel like a broken record, but Real Madrid are the prime example. This question only matters to the elite. When Real Madrid have a good manager that can manage the players, they play well. The players can't do it without a good manager, and I think that's sort of all you need to know. That is the debate in a nutshell, sort of thing.
And then Xabi Alonso came, he was not able to do that. He was more of a system kind of player.
I even think Ancelotti kind of comes down to our point though, because the next season, when they signed Mbappe, the season before that was Vinny, Rodrigo, Bellingham.
Yeah.
The season after that was Mbappe. And obviously, Mbappe is a quality player, but you can see in
quality play is an understatement, and if you say that bringing in Mbappe made Real Madrid worse, it's just because we're yet to figure out how to fit Mbappe into a player that scores 35 goals is not a problem. That's not a problem. That if you think that that's a bad thing for a club to be struggling with, you're delusional. Is the only thing I have to say. It's just about getting the players to work together and building the rest of the team behind Vinicius Junior and Mbappe to get the best out of them two. That's just all the manager has to figure out, which is what Jose Mourinho's probably working on if Vinny does stay.
In terms of the balance of the side, the team's probably not playing the same way, but it's the same manager. So I think that still comes down to the players on the pitch. Because at the end of the day, regardless of whether the manager is very good or not, the players play the football matches. Do you know what I'm saying?
There are things managers see that other managers don't. For example, Mourinho, he wasn't able to see the way KDB obviously his now, or for
Yeah,
example
very true.
Salah.
Yeah.
But there's obviously Pep Guardiola was able to see that managing egos and managing players, that's also important. It's not just the system as well. So the why was Zidane successful? It wasn't just his tactics; it was man management as well. So for example, why do managers get sacked so much as well at the same time? Because this manager doesn't work out. You need another manager. You need someone that can lead the team, lead the squad. You can build a squad as well. It's building confidence in a player as well. Somebody who's low on confidence, you need a manager to be there. Sometimes the captain is not always there that could help the player as well. Sometimes the manager shows them a way that a player or a teammate or friend can't.
On the flip side of that, though, don't you think it's a bit of a cop-out for players? Because I think it is. I think players are just kind of like brat their way out of a manager sometimes. And I think if the players have the ability, like Chelsea did under Enzo Maresca, I thought those Chelsea players were good. Liam Rossini came in. It was obvious that the players didn't want Rossini there. It was obvious the players didn't rate him from day dot. And it's obvious the players wanted sacked. And the players kind of just stopped performing because high-level players, they've been known to do that. And I think it's a bit of a cop-out for players sometimes. And I don't think there can be a world where the manager is more important than the players that put the performances on the pitch and stuff like that. As soon as the players give up on the manager, in my opinion, the players still have the ability. So I think it's a little bit of a cop-out for players sometimes.
I think that's why it adds to the...
That's not what I expected him to say. He does make a point, but I still disagree because Rossini wasn't a good manager. Like, having a manager matters, obviously. Chelsea got it drastically wrong. Under Maresca, the players were still performing. But I also do think when things go wrong, the players look after themselves. So even if a manager's telling them how to play better, the player can decide not to. That's not the player having the ability. That's the player being a brat. In which case, I don't think that falls into what this question actually is. Otherwise, we can start including all kinds of variables like managers sitting players out for their behaviour and things like that. And
the manager's argument as well,
actions.
because, you know, essentially the player's role is just to go out there and play football. But the managers, they've got to manage the team, but they've also got so many other aspects of it as well. Managing the dressing room, you know, dealing with the media, you know, that's one thing I'll give Arteta credit for. You know, I'm the last person to give Arteta credit, but obviously he had that thing with Aubameyang, you know what I mean? You know, he dealt with that well, and, you know, he phased him out of the club. But, you know, you can easily see that go left, and then you get booted out of the club. And, you know, another aspect as well is your manager is your face of the club. You know, you look at Mourinho, for example. I think of Mourinho's Chelsea. You know, when they're playing teams, you just look at that manager. It's a strong team. You know you're not going to walk over that team. And I think if you've got a strong manager who has the respect of his players, that has far more of an impact in revolutionising the team than what one player. I think it's only a few instances at the top level of football where you see one player, you know, carry a team. You know, Ronaldo with the Champions League.
Messi wasn't too bad.
Messi, Salah last year. You know, I think it's more the manager who has an impact.
Beatrice, you can end it for us. Your final comments, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's really easy to say like a good player should be able to play well in any team with any manager. But if you look back to at school, I'm sure everyone had an experience where you had a bad teacher and you stopped trying in the class. It's very similar to that.
This is a job, though. You're getting paid for it.
But
you can't
I'm sure people have
switch
similar
off when you work.
experiences at a job as well, where if you don't have a manager that you want to fight for, it's so hard to make yourself fight for it. And on the pitch, you're, as a defender, whatever, you're putting your body on the line. And if you don't have a manager or a club that you're willing to fight for, it's really easy just to say that the players should be able to perform anyway.
With that point, to be fair, but I do think it's a bit of a liberty for players sometimes.
I
Because
feel like your point, though, is slightly a different point in terms of yours is more that players are too up themselves.
No, my point is, I think it's unfair to say that the manager's just more important than the players because the players are the ones on the pitch at the end of the day, and the managers get blamed for the players giving up on them, if that makes sense.
But again, that's what I mean in terms of, I think you're saying more that players have too much power.
I suppose so. I think maybe I just thought players are more important just because saying that they're not important gives them an easy way out.
But this isn't this. That's that. I feel like he's wrapped up this conversation in a nutshell. We're not saying that the players aren't important. We're just saying when you've got to say that's terrible and that's really good. We're all up here. Which one pushes a team that's here to there? And that's why it's more important to have a good manager to take them good teams to the next level, because we're not talking about bad players.
Kind of thing.
That is true. You guys at home, please let us know in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think on both of these debates. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
Make sure you go and subscribe to Zach Jellop. He will be in the description below as always. But yeah, a very interesting video. I wish there was more questions and I wish we got through it a little quicker, I will say. I love his videos. He's the king of 20v1. But I must say, I had 2 questions in 20 minutes. I would rather have seen a little less debate because I feel like that conversation, especially the West Ham fan, kind of hit the nail on the head. 10 minutes, like 5 minutes, or 2 minutes into the debate, saying it's like a chicken and the egg conversation. And it did just feel like the conversation did. We were just all arguing the same thing. Like, you have to have good players, but having good players and a good manager is more important than just good players and a bad manager. That's all we're arguing. But yeah, if you did enjoy, please make sure you do like and subscribe. It does help me more than you understand. We've been absolutely killing it recently, to be honest. We've got like 120 subscribers now, so I can only thank you all so much. I really, really do appreciate it. We are on the road to 500. I appreciate all your support so, so much, and we are not stopping this grind. But I'll see you all in the next one, and peace.